Hello YouTube, my name's Rebecca. I'm known as the Bible Girl here on YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. My apologies on not uploading for I think a week or so. It's been busy. I've gotten some new furniture. As you can see in the background here, we have a new reading chair in the library. It's all alphabet. Very cute. I did get dripped out of an A, but it's okay. Not a big deal. I had R's and B's, and that's good. But, yeah, I like the letter A. Anyway, I digress. So, I got that. Did a new chair in my living room. So it's been a little busy here. But did just the final touches to put the home, together. So that's that. Anyway. Today I wanted to do another episode of Specialized Equipment, and today I want to talk about, standards. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it well. A standard. Those are pieces of equipment. I haven't used one in years, so I'm assuming they still make them. But what it is it's a piece of equipment that is used to help a person with a disability physically stand, and the stander will actually, you usually put some type of velcro or strap, usually around the waist of the person, sometimes around the legs. There's usually padding by the knees so it doesn't hurt them. But you put that around them, and then they just stand in that piece of equipment for a certain period of time. So I have had, as I said, I haven't used one in years, but when I was younger, I did use them regularly. So, my earliest memory of being in one, well, I know I was in them from very young. I know there's a video of me in one all the way back in preschool. So for me, and the earliest one I can remember, it was like all metal, and the strap was like this brownish color that went around my waist. And then I used another one that was more of a light wood color, and it kind of, it didn't use straps. It used like these screw things that would like loosen, so it kind of swung open like a door on the top half and the bottom, and then once you got in, you kind of closed the doors and twisted the screw thing. Sorry, my nose was itchy. Twist the screw thing till it's holding you in place. And then the last stander that I had was my Puma wheelchair that did stand. That was the last form of a stander that I used. I did try a new one that was coming out again many years ago, and I almost did purchase it, but then we never ended up going through with it. So let me talk to you. So that's kind of what they are, and those were the styles I had. Like I said, I'm sure they still make them. I just don't know much about them anymore. So the purpose of them was to stretch the muscles and to help with standing. Because like for myself, when I do stand, I stand in a very crouched position, which pretty much means that my legs are very bent. I'm not standing up perfectly straight like most people do. So the stander was supposed to help you strengthen your muscles to help you stand taller. For me personally, I don't feel like it did too much. It probably did. I'm not gonna lie. I just can't, like straight out say like, yes, it definitely helped me, and I wish I was still using one, because I don't feel that way. To me, Okay, I have complete feel of all of my body. I can even feel from head to toe. So for me, when I was in my stander, once I was in it for a period of time, I was usually in it for about anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And once I was in there for probably about 10 minutes, I would begin to feel that my legs and my feet were falling asleep, getting numb, just getting uncomfortable. And my reasoning or my thought behind why that was happening is because when you stand normally, whether you know it or not, you're always shifting your weight, even if it's just slightly. So I'm not saying you're doing a big shift to the left or a big shift to the right. I actually went opposite there. But you are slightly like changing your weight and the placement of your legs and your feet, even when you're just standing still talking to somebody. So when you're in the stander, because you're strapped, and sometimes even your feet had straps on them too. Sometimes, not all the time. But once your feet got into the position that they were supposed to be in, that was it. And once you were strapped in, you were in that position. There was no real shifting of your weight. There was no moving of your foot. None of that. It was kind of, you were there and that was it. So for me, I think that caused pain because it's not natural, I don't believe, to when we stand to not be shifting and changing positions, even if it's just slightly. So when I would be in my stander, I would occasionally fight going in it. Most of the time with most pieces of equipment, I did use it without giving much of a fight. But the stander, I kind of put up a fight. And not so much because of I didn't want to stand or I didn't want to do the exercise or whatever. I just didn't like how I felt after doing it. Because for me, once I was done and the time had come to get out of the stander, I felt so weak. I could barely stand up anymore. And when the parents at school would get me out of my stander, they would tell me I would have to help them get me in my chair and push on my legs, but my legs were so weak and so tired from just being in that position for that 20 minutes. And it wasn't very enjoyable. And I even began, as I got older, to work on just moving my feet ever so slightly while I was in there, just in the hopes that my legs and feet wouldn't go so numb and fall so asleep. I couldn't move it much, maybe like a quarter of an inch, but I do think that helped because it just gave a little bit of like circulation, you know. So those were the first types that I had. Then when I was in junior high, the Puma wheel wheelchair had come out, and it's still a wheelchair that's out. It's popular. I think people still gravitate to it and use it. And that was the first chair that had features of reclining and standing and changing position while still being in the wheelchair, and all of that was, as well as not only just changing position while in the wheelchair, but also being able to still drive the chair while in those different positions, which was really nice. So I bought that and I tried it, and that chair for me, I believe I did a whole video on wheelchairs before, and I talked more in depth about the former wheelchair, so I'm not going to go into too much about the chair aspects. If you want to hear more about that, watch my other video about specialized equipment, specifically speaking on wheelchairs. So, but what I do want to say about the pommel wheel, as far as the standing feature of the chair, what I enjoyed about that was not only was I able to reach things at heights that I wasn't able to reach in my previous chairs, I also liked the fact that even though I still had to do my standing on a regular basis, I was in the control of when it was over and getting out of that position. So that was really good in the sense of it was still something we were using as part of my I guess the word I could use is treatment, although I don't really like using that word. But it was still part of my therapy. There we go. It was still part of my therapy, but I finally had some control over, like the positioning and stuff like that. So I did enjoy that part of it. But in my opinion, a stander, like I said, they've probably changed, but in my opinion, I don't feel like the uncomfortableness and the numbness within my legs and my feet was worth what I gained from it in my personal experience. So but just because, once again, like I said with all these videos, just because a piece of equipment didn't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else. And I also can't say with complete certainty that it did nothing, because I am able to stand okay and also independently to a point, as long as I'm hanging on to something. So with all of that in mind, it does bring up the question, like, if I didn't use them, would I be able to do that or not? I don't know. But what I do know is it's definitely not a piece of equipment that I feel is vital as an adult at this point in my life. It doesn't allow for much mobility unless you use it with a power wheelchair like the pommel wheel, then you can drive while standing. But to just be standing in one position for a certain period of time at this point in my life, I don't think it's very helpful. But I do think it can be helpful when you're young, to an extent of maybe, give me one sec. Okay, sorry about that. Like I was saying, at a younger age, it could potentially be a beneficial piece of equipment to use, because it might help your child as they get older to be more independent. But I wouldn't make it a daily requirement. Personally, I remember in school doing it, I think, every day. I don't think that's necessary. I think doing it 2 to 3 times a week is more than plenty. You'll still get the stretching, but it doesn't have to be every single day. So Would I recommend a Standard now as an adult? No. Would I look into it for young children? Maybe. You gotta see what your child's ability level is, and if you think it'll give them long-lasting benefits or not. And as far as if any kids with a disability are watching this and you are using a Standard, don't get super frustrated if it's something you're not enjoying. It's not supposed to be the funnest piece of equipment that we may use in our lives, but like I said, there is a chance that it can be helping. Like I said, I don't know if I'm able to stand as decently as I can because I used them when I was young or not, but I can say with confidence that I did use them and I am able to stand pretty okay. So, that's all I have to say about Standards. Standard. Sorry, again, I'm not the best at pronouncing that word. I hope that this video was helpful. I've been wanting to do this topic for a while, so I'm glad that it's finally going to be uploaded for you guys. I think this is a really important topic that people don't talk about, and I think it's important to look at all the options. So let's just recap. So it stretches our muscles. It can help us be able to stand better as we grow and things like that. But there are some negative things that come along with it. There's a lot of tension on the muscles. There's a lack of blood flow to the feet. There's some numbness and feeling of that your limbs have fallen asleep after being in it for a period of time. Those are some of the negatives. But if you're able to come up with something that that doesn't cause too much pain and a way to get them out of the Standard that doesn't hurt them or the people doing the transfer, that's really important. That's why the wheelchair was beneficial for me, because they still want me to use it, but no one had to risk getting hurt or myself getting hurt getting out of it. Very quickly before I sign off, I do want to touch base on that Standard that I tried but never ended up purchasing. So it was a piece of equipment that, if I remember correctly, it had wheels, so it could kind of be moved around the house, which was kind of nice. And it had it wasn't like the old Standard where it was like you were standing there, you were strapped in, and you were like a pole. It had this little seat kind of behind you, so you could kind of sit back a little bit and kind of not be so perfectly straight all the time. So that was kind of nice. I did enjoy being in it, and I did think it would be something that we should look into for me. We didn't end up doing it because at the end of the day, it wasn't really going to do much in the sense of okay, it had the seat behind, so I wasn't perfectly straight, but then I'm just standing the way I normally stand anyway, which is, like I said, in a crouched position. So, if you're using a piece of equipment and it's not improving what you're already doing naturally, I'm not sure. For myself, I think if I'm using a piece of equipment, it should improve what I'm already capable of doing. It should elevate it. If it's just not elevating it and I'm doing exactly what I was doing without the piece of equipment, I don't feel like that's a good spend of my money, because I know how expensive this equipment is. I know the amount of work that it takes. So be mindful of that when you're purchasing any piece of equipment for yourself or a loved one. Weigh out the pros and cons and see if there are truly benefits coming from it. If you see that using a standard is making them stand better, then keep doing that. If you see that it's kind of not improving anything at all, and it could even be hurting them or making them worse, don't keep using it just because they say you should. So, and kids, if you don't feel like it's doing something, but your therapist or your parents or whatever see that it is, trust in them. It might benefit you more as you get older. But if you're really uncomfortable and something's really hurting you, don't be afraid to speak up and make that known. And if your child or whatever is not able to verbalize that to you, just pay attention to their expressions, their emotions, because they're telling you, whether they're voicing it or not, they're telling you how they feel. So, alright, I think that's all I wanted to say about standards. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was an interesting topic for you. I do enjoy syncing a piece of equipment that I either currently use or have used in my life and being able to share my journey with them with you guys. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate it. And God bless, and we'll talk soon. Bye.